What happens when a restaurant's kitchen staff physically blocks a black man from entering their VIP kitchen, assuming he's lost or doesn't belong, only to discover 10 minutes later that he's a Michelin-starred chef who's about to become their new boss? This is the true story of Chef Marcus Baptiste, whose 2022 experience at an elite Manhattan restaurant didn't just expose ugly biases. It led to a complete transformation of one of New York's most prestigious dining establishments and became a viral moment that sparked industry-wide conversations about who gets respect in professional kitchens. It's a busy Friday evening in April 2022 at Étoile, a two-Michelin-star French restaurant in Manhattan's Upper East Side, where entrees start at $85 and reservations are booked 3 months out. Marcus Baptiste, 39, walks through the main dining room toward the kitchen entrance wearing chef's whites and comfortable kitchen clogs. He's arrived early for what he believes is his first official shift as Étoile's new executive chef, a position the ownership group offered him after he earned his own Michelin star at his San Francisco restaurant last year. The hiring was confidential because the previous chef only resigned 2 days ago, and staff haven't been formally notified about Marcus's arrival. As Marcus approaches the kitchen's swinging doors, a sous chef named Derek steps in front of him, blocking his path. "Whoa, buddy, you can't go back there. Kitchen's closed to the public." Marcus smiles, assuming this is a simple misunderstanding. "I'm Chef Baptiste. I'm starting today as executive chef." The GM should have, but Derek cuts him off with visible skepticism. "Right? Look, I don't know who you are, but we don't have anyone starting today. You need to leave through the front." Marcus tries again, reaching for his phone to show his offer letter, but now 2 other line cooks have emerged, forming a physical barrier. One of them, a guy named Todd, says bluntly, "Dude, how do you even get those whites? You need to go before we call security." What's happening is painfully obvious to Marcus. He's being profiled. These kitchen workers, all white, have looked at him and decided he couldn't possibly belong in their elite kitchen, that he must be confused, lost, or lying. Marcus has experienced versions of this his entire career, being mistaken for a delivery driver at food festivals, having diners assume he's a server instead of the chef, constantly having to prove his credentials in ways his white peers never do. But this is different. This is the kitchen he's been hired to run, and his own future staff won't even let him through the door. Marcus takes a breath, controlling his anger. "I understand there's confusion. I'm going to step outside and call the general manager. But you should know you're making a serious mistake right now." Marcus walks back through the dining room, every eye on him as he makes the call to Richard Chun, Étoile's general manager and the person who recruited him. Richard answers immediately. "Marcus, are you here? I'm running late, but I'll be there in 10 minutes to introduce you to everyone." Marcus explains what just happened, his voice tight with controlled fury. There's a long silence before Richard responds with genuine horror. "They what?" "Marcus, I am so sorry. Stay right there. I'm 5 minutes away." Marcus ends the call and stands in the dining room, watching curious servers whisper about why a chef in full whites is just standing near the host's stand. He could leave. He could walk out right now and let Étoile deal with the consequences of their staff's bias. But Marcus didn't build his career by walking away from uncomfortable situations. He built it by facing them head-on. 7 minutes later, Richard Chin bursts through the front door with 2 members of the ownership group, looking panicked. They find Marcus standing exactly where he said he'd be, and Richard immediately starts apologizing profusely, but Marcus stops him. "Let's just go to the kitchen. Together." The group walks through the dining room, and as they push through those kitchen doors, the entire brigade is mid-prep for dinner service. Derek, Todd, and the others who blocked Marcus look up, and their faces go ghost white when they see him walking in with ownership and management. Richard's voice cuts through the kitchen noise. "Everyone, stop what you're doing. I need your attention now." The kitchen goes silent, 22 staff members turning to face Richard, Marcus, and the owners. Richard continues, his voice hard. "This is Chef Marcus Baptiste. He is your new executive chef, starting today. Some of you met him 10 minutes ago when you physically prevented him from entering his own kitchen and accused him of stealing chef's whites. That was a spectacular failure of judgment and professionalism." You could hear a knife drop. Derek looks like he might be sick. Richard isn't finished. Chef Baptiste earned his Michelin star at age 37, has trained under Thomas Keller and Daniel Boulud, and was recruited specifically to elevate this kitchen. He is also one of only 12 black chefs in America to hold a Michelin star, which makes the assumptions you made about him even more disgraceful. Marcus finally speaks, his voice calm but commanding immediate attention. I'm not going to pretend what happened didn't happen. You saw a black man in chef's whites and decided he couldn't possibly belong here. That tells me something about the culture in this kitchen and why, despite having incredible talent, you've plateaued at 2 stars while other restaurants are pushing forward. He pauses, making eye contact with Derek specifically. Here's what's going to change. This kitchen will be a place where skill, creativity, and work ethic matter more than what you look like or where you came from. Anyone who can't work under those values can leave now. But if you stay, you work for me, you follow my standards, and you check your biases at the door. Nobody leaves, though several people look at the floor in shame. Marcus continues, Derek, Todd, you both have strong technical skills. I've reviewed your work, but you made a snap judgment based on appearance rather than facts. In my kitchen, we verify before we assume. We ask questions before we block doors. That starts now. He then does something unexpected. Derek, you're working directly with me tonight on the special. I want to see what you can do, and I want you to see that I'm here to make everyone in this kitchen better, including you. We're going to earn our 3rd star together, but only if we're actually a team. The shift that night is intense but transformative. Marcus runs the line with a combination of technical brilliance and teaching moments, pushing the brigade harder than they've been pushed in years while also explaining his reasoning and elevating their techniques. Derek, working alongside him, later admits to coworkers, I've learned more in 5 hours than I learned in 5 months under the last chef. And I was the idiot who tried to kick him out. Word of the incident spreads through New York's restaurant community within days, both the initial bias and Marcus's response. Some applaud his grace under pressure. Others question why he stayed after being treated that way. Marcus addresses this in an interview 3 months later. I could have walked away, and I wouldn't have been wrong to do so. But I also saw an opportunity to change a culture from the inside, to prove that a black executive chef can not only belong in an elite kitchen but can transform it. Within 6 months under Marcus's leadership, Étoile earns its 3rd Michelin star. The brigade becomes one of the most diverse in fine dining, and Marcus implements a mentorship program specifically recruiting young chefs of color. Derek and Todd remain on his team, both having learned expensive lessons about assumptions and bias. When asked what he wants people to take from his story, Marcus is clear. Respect should be given based on how someone carries themselves and what they bring to the table, not what they look like. I belonged in that kitchen, not just because I was hired to run it, but because I earned my place through decades of work. The fact that I had to prove that proves we still have work to do. Here's the uncomfortable truth Marcus's story exposes. Bias doesn't just live in obvious places. It lives in professional kitchens, corporate offices, and every space where people make snap judgments about who belongs based on appearance. Marcus could have let that moment define him as a victim. Instead, he used it as a teaching moment, a turning point, and ultimately as fuel to transform an entire restaurant culture. He didn't just earn respect, he demanded it, not through anger, but through undeniable excellence and leadership. If this story challenged how you think about bias and belonging, smash that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been judged before people knew your credentials? Subscribe for more stories about people who faced discrimination and responded with excellence that left their doubters speechless. Because sometimes the best response to being underestimated isn't walking away, it's walking in, taking over, and proving you belong there all along.